212. Hello, hello. Okay, looks like we're live on the Charge live stream. Hopefully, let's just double check to make sure. How is everybody doing? This is, of course, your boy Bernie here on The Charge, giving you the latest NBA news and rumors and really basketball opinions. But today, guys, I gotta admit something. Not really a lot of NBA news to talk about, other than, you know, maybe some John Wall going to play in Italy, other kind of news like that. But for the most part, there isn't really anything new to report on my side of things in terms of trades and basketball rumors and here and there. So today is mostly just going to be about just sports news and what's going on around a lot of the other leagues, and also implications into the college sports world, especially as it pertains to the Pac-12 and what deals they have going on, and really what could be the end of the Pac-12, in my opinion, if measures are not being taken. But for the most part, it looks like it could be dead. But before we do any of that stuff, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Again, all that stuff helps out the channel tremendously, and it lets us know here on The Charge that you guys enjoy our content, you appreciate what we do here, and I'm just excited, just as you guys are, to talk more about all this stuff and so much more. So without further ado, we're not going to be going on too long today. Probably going to split these off into a couple of videos that I might have throughout the week. I'm actually going to be heading out of the States for the next week in a couple days. So I will not be live streaming per se on OBS or YouTube, but I will try to find a way to have me and Pete obviously have a conversation recording, really talking about what's going on around the league and other kind of sports news and rumors, and really get that thing going as a podcast form for you guys next week. So be on the lookout for that. And I'm really going to hope to put these two videos out and see if there's any other news and rumors. But for the most part, we're all just waiting for the basketball season to start. It's a long ways away, but we are excited for when the season and all that stuff officially gets going in a little bit. So without further ado, let us get into the first story of the day. And the first story of the day is, of course, none other than our favorite ESPN commentator, TV doctor, whatever you want to call him. Stephen A. Smith is in the news because he is charging for a basketball camp at IMG Academy for the low price of basically $3,000. We all know, and then of course this is from Uprock, so they have their own spin and narratives to this, but every summer dozens of NBA players hold their basketball camps across the country that allows kids to hear from their favorite players, learn some new basketball skills, and maybe even go one-on-one in a drill against an NBA star. However, this summer will be a new basketball camp being offered at IMG in Florida, where obviously the WNBA bubble took place there. A lot of famous high school athletes have played at IMG Academy. And it looks like there are going to be a new basketball camp hosted by none other than Stephen A. Smith from August 6th through the 12th, and is going to cost that athlete, whoever goes to that, about $3,000. You may be asking, why would anyone send their child to a week-long basketball camp run by Stephen A. Smith for nearly $3,000? I'm asking the very same question. So unfortunately, I did not have a good answer for you, but here's the description of the IMG Academy website. So we'll just read the description of it, and then we'll kind of get my opinions on it, because me and my boys in the group chat that we had, we were just laughing our butts off about this. So, IMG Academy is getting loud and providing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for young athletes with its Stephen A. Smith basketball camp at IMG Academy taking place August 6th to the 12th. As per the camp package, Smith will participate in several engaging opportunities with camp participants, including sharing an inspiring message to the young athletes and hosting a Q&A format discussion. All camp participants will receive exclusive branded Stephen A. Smith basketball camp at IMG apparel to wear for the week of the camp. Stephen A. is a featured commentator and executive producer on ESPN's First Take, analyst on NBA Countdown, and a host of Known Mercy Stephen A. Smith podcast. So, here is my opinion about this. This, to me, it's clearly a cash grab by IMG. I think they struggled to get guys to come back to their academy. I don't know what it is, but you're telling me out of all the... And I really want to look this up. So I do apologize that I don't have this information in advance. Players that played basketball at IMG. And we can kind of look at some notable alumni from there. Let's see here. Here we go. We have Braden Atkin, Logan Allen, a lot of baseball guys. Let's see basketball. Here we go. Basketball. We have Ronaldo Bachman, Dwayne Bacon, Michael Beasley, Barama, Bradley, Earl Clark, Eric Dampier, DeAndre Daniels, Trevon Duval, Zach Edey, Torian Green, Jonathan Isaac, Kennedy Kaji, Kenny Martin Jr., and a bunch of other guys, Anthony Simons, like a bunch of guys, Josh Green, Jaden Springer, Romello White. Again, a bunch of guys that have gone to IMG Academy, and the best that they could come up with, guys, is this, let's see here. Let me see if I can see that live chat. Do apologize. I'm not sure where this, this might be on, is this on YouTube or on Twitter? I did see that comment. Yeah, they did get, they got killed. And we'll talk about that when we get to that part of the video. So really, stay tuned for that part. But kind of going back to the Stephen A. Smith stuff, to me, the frustrating thing about this whole situation is, Stephen A. Smith, like, I don't care about your basketball background. I don't care about any of this stuff. But the fact that you haven't hosted, I would say personally, a basketball camp where you're going to the local levels, maybe where you grew up from, maybe the surrounding area of ESPN, like, you're not going to those small communities and doing that. The first camp and opportunity that you go to is Stephen A. Smith Academy. Or sorry, IMG Academy. Not Stephen A. Smith, but IMG Academy, which to me, what it kind of tells me is that you're not taking this stuff serious at all. You're just putting your brand next to a basketball camp and saying, hey, Stephen A. Smith. Because again, to me, Stephen A. Smith is going, and again, this is just what it continues on from the topic that I talked about a little bit ago last week, which was the ESPN trying to find new ways to get new revenue and stuff like that. This is what we call the content creator method right here, because we've seen people like Logan Paul, Jake Paul, and many other people that have gone the avenue that Stephen A. Smith has gone, just from a YouTuber perspective, right? We talk about those guys, like I said, Logan Paul, Jake Paul. Those guys are primarily on, boxing. They're doing prime drinks, like all this other stuff, creating this different product. To me, this is the same exact thing that Stephen A. Smith is doing, except he's just doing it now in a way that is really, I would say, cheating somebody out of an experience, because we know that Stephen A. Smith is corporate. We know that Stephen A. Smith is not organic in a sense that he's not someone that came from the YouTube ranks and then got to the popularity. He was already popular, had a very popular show with Skip Bayless. And to me, like, when I see that stuff and when things like that are going down, not saying that Stephen A. Smith can't have a basketball camp, because, hey, I've worked at a basketball camp before. Like they're tough, and whether it's kids from kindergarten to fifth grade, whether it's from fifth grade all the way to eighth grade high school. When you are going to IMG, like when you think about IMG Academy, you're thinking about the best of the best, the pristine, the way that these academies have, and really, I really think that these academies are just scams, in my opinion. I think you could get exposure from wherever you are, even your AU team. But IMG Academy is supposed to be this illustrious facility where all the athletes go because you're a special talent. That's where the special talent goes. But adding Stephen A. Smith, I feel like diminishes or tarnishes your brand. I mean, why would you want to even be associated with Stephen A. Smith in the sense that he's not really a basketball coach, and he's also not someone that teaches the game of basketball. He talks about it, whether you agree with his opinions or not. He's someone that talks about basketball, but he's not someone that participates in the basketball community. Like he's a guy that participates in the conversation of it. Doesn't participate by going to the local youth levels, going to these other places to really teach the youth about the game. It's more about for Stephen A. Smith, it's more about, hey, how can I make a quick buck by adding my brand and likeness to it? It's to me, and I hate it when the YouTubers do it, but it's basically just YouTube. Like to me, like Stephen A. Smith is a YouTuber. He's a content creator trying to garner your attention, trying to garner your money by slapping his branding all over it and saying, hey, this is a basketball camp. Like I'm very excited. Like, is Stephen A. Smith going to be leading basketball drills throughout this whole thing? Probably not. They're probably not going to lead basketball drills for Stephen A. Smith. And I am very disappointed in IMG Academy, not the fact that they got Stephen A. Smith. Like, hell, if you want to get Stephen A. Smith to do a journalism class, or you want to say, like, hey, this is how you market your likeness, or a marketing class, I will be okay with Stephen A. Smith doing that. But a basketball camp where, he hasn't played basketball in many, many years, professionally or collegiately, is someone that just talks about the game, doesn't coach it, doesn't know the X's and O's like a guy like JJ Redick or any of his other contemporaries on ESPN themselves. Kendrick Perkins being the number one guy, which, I think it's him and Perkins and Richardson to me, those three guys, and Legler. Like, those are four guys that I have above Stephen A. Smith when it comes to ball knowledge. And really someone, or those guys would be the guys that I would want teaching a basketball camp and having their likeness to it rather than Stephen A. Smith. And I get, again, I get it from Stephen A. Smith's perspective. It's a moneymaker. You're trying to make as much money as you can. I have no problem with it. But I just hate the scammingness and really what I feel like is a scam for the athletes that go to the school, for the athletes that want to go to this camp, because I don't think you have to be a student to go to this camp. But imagine the students that have to pay for that, or the kids that have to pay for that, and they're getting hoodwinked and bamboozled because Stephen A. Smith is someone popular on YouTube, someone that a lot of people talk about, and they're like, oh yeah, I like Stephen A. Smith, he's a good guy, or like in terms of, I love what he says on TV, but really, I just don't think that he should be teaching the game of basketball if he hasn't taught it before in terms of the last like 5 to 10 years. Like if he's hosting a basketball camp in the local areas and, teaching everybody the drills and stuff like that, I would be okay with it. But the fact that it's just Stephen A. Smith, probably going to be talking hyperbolic, probably going to say his, famous quotes and his catchphrases and whatever and whatnot, I'm just not a big fan of it. And I'm not a big fan of it from anybody, whether it's KSI, whether it's Logan Paul, Jake Paul, any of these YouTubers that are trying to make a bang for their buck off of their likeness and content creatorness. I don't like the scammingness. I mean, I hope that a lot of people don't pay for this. I know that there's going to be some people that pay for it because they're going to think that Stephen A. Smith is going to, miraculously have their son or daughter shown to ESPN and say, like, dang, this person can play basketball, or hey, this person's got a personality, let's try to sign him. But again, I would be more inclined to be okay with this if it was from a perspective of, okay, he's going to teach my kids how to market themselves. Like, hey, this is what you do to show your likeness, to show, what people think about you and like how you can improve that type of social media and things like that. But at the end of the day, I am not a big fan of the situation going on at hand. It is not something that I would approve of, and I'm surprised that a lot of parents are even spending their money for this basketball camp. And again, for $3,000, that's a lot of money for a guy that hasn't played basketball since his college days. And for a guy that most likely, and I'm not even going to get into like, calling him out or stuff like that because I was never that type of player either. So I'm not going to sit here and say you sucked as a player. But what I will say, and what I will, kind of give my credit to is that I've worked these camps for the last 8 years now. I've done these camps. I've worked at them. I've done the background stuff as a coach. Like I've been coaching for 7 years now. Like that stuff to me gives me more credibility. And I don't even want to do like the fancy camps at all. Like I like doing the camps that I'm in right now. I think those are a lot better anyway. But I just don't appreciate Stephen A. Smith probably bamboozling and hoodwinking all these athletes who are trying to make it in the league, trying to make it where they're supposed to be. And I just think it's frustrating if you are an athlete or a parent and you spend all this money on your kids. Like, this is $3,000, right? We're not talking like $1,000. We're not even talking $200. We're talking $3,000. That's a chunk of change to invest into your kid. That's not related to their academics or anything like that. You're putting it to their sports. And it's not, a guaranteed AAU sports team. It's not a high school team or, any of these other sports. It's a freaking basketball camp for a week with Stephen A. Smith where you'll get Stephen A. Smith, IMG Academy shorts and a t-shirt. And it's like, am I supposed to be excited about that? Not really. I'm surprised that parents are even paying for this. And if they are, I hope they ask for a refund because, again, not hating on Stephen A. Smith, get your money, but don't scam these kids, man. I feel like it's just a big scam going on. It's some fraudulence in this area. You can smell the fraudulence from this whole basketball camp, and really shame on IMG Academy for doing this. I just think that they're probably trying to find ways to make money. I know the economy's tough, but god dang it, man! Like you cannot bamboozle and hoodwink these kids by having Stephen A. Smith as your main attraction. I would say main content creator at this camp. You're telling me that you couldn't get any of these other basketball. You couldn't even get Zach Edey. You couldn't get any of these other basketball IMG Academy guys. Michael Beasley. He was a really good. He was the number 2 pick. You couldn't get that guy to IMG Academy to do a camp. You got Stephen A. Smith. It's mind-boggling to me the lack of awareness from some of these camps and some of these people that really shouldn't be in these positions in the first place. Because again, we're talking $3,000. We're not talking 200, 300, $400. We're talking $3,000. Again, that's someone's paycheck in a month in some of these places. And so if you're paying that much to go to a camp for Stephen A. Smith for just a week, you might need help. And I hope that your son or daughter is not at this camp. And go support your local coaches. Go support the coaches that are in the trenches or the coaches that are in there in your communities putting in that work. Like, go to those camps. Those are the coaches that care about the community. Those are the coaches that I personally, as a coach myself, would love to see more of, is these kids going to the local camps to support their coaches that are trying to do the right thing for the community. There's a lot of them here in Seattle. I know Rainier Beach does one. Jamal Crawford is doing one. I'm sure Garfield's doing, like, all these schools around the nation and around the Washington State area are doing great camps. And I'm sure there's other areas too. I'm sure Florida has some as well. But instead, they're going to go to IMG Academy with Stephen A. Smith, and he's going to say something along the lines of stay off the weed and other kind of, Dallas Cowboys, like any other catchphrase that Stephen A. Smith, it's going to be rinse and repeat, boring. And I hope that you're going to save your money and not go to this camp. But let me know in the comment section down below. Am I coming off across as a hater, or do you guys agree with me that this is just not the way that you should be doing it? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to know what you guys think. And let me know if I'm right or wrong in the comment section down below. All right. I'm just going to quickly check to make sure there's no other news and rumors. And then we can kind of get going to the next story before we go. Looks like we got Frank Ntilikina to the Charlotte Hornets. We got Lakers offering Anthony Davis a contract extension. Paulo choosing Team USA over Italy. This one I kind of want to talk about with Pete at some point, so I'll save this conversation for Pete about what DeMarcus Cousins says about Chris Paul. But this next story we're going to talk about is a little different. And for my people watching on Twitter, make sure you follow us on Twitter at the2_charge. It's our new Twitter. We're going to just kind of live stream from there as well. So I appreciate if you guys hit the follow on that. And we're going to be live streaming on there too. So you guys can listen to the conversations that Pete and I and whoever else is going to be having them. It's a fun way to just continue to talk about sports and stuff like that. So without further ado, let us get into this. And this, of course, probably the end of an era in a sense. And I know that this is not really, it's a little bit basketball related, but more so it is college football related. If you guys don't know my past, I've worked at the University of Utah as a video coordinator, assistant, where I would be recording coaches' film. It was a lot of fun, a lot of ups and downs along the way, but it was probably one of the most fun jobs I've ever had because you got to follow the football team, film their coaches, and it is I would say it's a lot of fun. So I do appreciate my time in there, and this is a little bit sad for me because again, I feel like it's the end of the Pac-12, and this is what it goes on to say. Sources: Oregon, Washington set to join the Big Ten and leave the Pac-12. We know that USC and UCLA are also doing the same thing, which basically I would say that those two teams leaving really put the nail in the coffin for the Pac-12. But if there's any more kind of kick someone while they're down, it's Oregon and Washington leaving the Pac-12. And this is what the story goes on to say. The Big Ten is getting even bigger, with Oregon and Washington becoming the latest schools to join the conference from the Pac-12 starting in 2024, sources told Action Network. The departure of the Ducks and the Huskies increased the number of schools leaving the Pac-12 in the past 13 months to 5. You got Oregon, UW, Colorado, UCLA, and USC, and it is probably the fatal blow to the Pac-12. The Big Ten will grow to 18 members, the largest in college football history, and must decide whether to expand even further. The Big Ten is contemplating whether to stand at 18 or consider adding Cal and Stanford, or possibly any ACC school that may want to leave. Oregon and Washington will not immediately receive full shares of the Big Ten's new media rights deal with Fox, CBS, and NBC, but will still make more money than they would by remaining in the Pac-12, sources say. With the additional schools leaving the Pac-12, the Mountain West would be open to adding the remaining Pac-12 schools to the league, sources told Action Network. The Mountain West currently has a linear TV deal with Fox, CBS Sports, and other additional games on CBS through 2025. Another possibility for the Mountain West, depending on how many schools are remaining in the Pac-12, could be a merger of some type between the two leagues, a source said. Late August, Action reported that Oregon and Washington met with Big Ten officials about potential membership. Oregon met with Big Ten officials in Chicago, while Washington met with Big Ten officials in New York, sources said. Both schools have been vetted and cleared to join the Big Ten for more than a year if the financial details could be worked out between the schools, the Big Ten, and the Big Ten television partners. There were no more research or information needed, and on Oregon and Washington, Big Ten sources said, we have everything we need. And again, I could read this on and on and on, but here's the sad reality of it. The sad reality of it all is the fact that we are no longer going to have sports rivalries, and really what I think made college football special in a way, because of the money and the greediness of, I would say, the college sports executives. And really, to me, it lands on the executives and the commissioners and the ADs more so than on the players. The players, I'm all about them making their money. I'm not ever going to hate on the players making their money. But what I will hate on is the fact that these schools, these conferences, to me, feel like they're just trying to create a super league. We talk about this in European soccer. We talk about this in many other sports leagues. But college football, college basketball, many of the college sports, the reason why we watch it, the reason why we tune in each and every week is because we love the rivalries. We love how it feels like anybody can win. It doesn't feel like one team always wins. Like, yes, the SEC is dominant. They're the best conference in all of college football. Basketball, it's more so spread out evenly. Even though UConn won it this year, but for the most part, it's anybody's field, right? That's the reason why there's so many sports leagues, conferences, I should say, and there's also why there's so many teams in these college sports. Like I said, the frustrating part is I feel like these big schools, like an Oregon, like a Washington, these are, I would say Oregon's a little, they haven't really been as big since, I would say the late tens, when they had that really good Oregon run. But when you really think about it, like these big schools, the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Texases, the Oklahomas, like all these schools to me are creating what we hated in European football, which is a super league. I just feel like there's only going to be two conferences next year. Well, maybe not next year, but in the next couple of years. It's going to be the SEC and the Big 4008. Because it just feels like everybody's going to join the Big Ten. And I don't know what they're going to be called now. I don't know if you really can call it the Big Ten anymore, but it feels like they're just joining the Big Ten. And eventually, excuse me, 1 second. It just, like I said, it just feels like everybody is joining one of the other conferences, and I find that frustrating as someone that enjoys sports, enjoys, I would say, um, the magical moments that these teams and these leagues can create. But really, these leagues have no one to, I would say, be mad at but themselves. Like when you really think about the Pac-12, they let these media TV deals go on forever. They didn't set up anything. And to me, that is the frustrating part as someone who has loved college football, college basketball, the magic, the lure of it all. It is frustrating to see that these sports leagues can't keep themselves together. Like the Pac-12 will soon be like the Pac-5, the Pac-4. And we know that that's not going to sustain anybody. And really, I think it's these TV networks, man. Like, and really, it's the fact that these Pac-12 teams have not won in a very long time. But really, to me personally, what I feel like is the frustrating part about this whole situation is that the money talks, and these leagues and this conference is not making any money. I would say for them for their survival. It's the reason why USC and UCLA left and joined the Big Ten because they saw the revenue that they were getting. And unfortunately, because the Pac-12 can't win, teams like Utah keep losing in the Rose Bowl. I'm sorry, Utes, I love you, but we keep losing in the Rose Bowl. We can't be, we can be frustrated about losing, but those results hurt the conference. The fact that, I think the Huskies were the last team, I think, to be considered, I think they were the last team in the college football playoffs from the Pac-12. And that was years ago when the playoffs were first introduced. So we can't be mad at anybody but ourselves because we didn't produce the results as a conference to say, hey, our games are worthy of being on TV. And we know how it works, right? If your conference or your team is not giving you the money and the revenue needed, I would say, to kind of support what you want in the future to get the more money, like why would ESPN, why would Fox want to show the Pac-12, those Pac-12 night games, which probably don't get as much love? Why would they want to show those games when you could just show SEC, SEC and the Big Ten and maybe a little bit of the Big 12? I think the Big 12 is like the third best. But why as a conference, or why would you as a executive or a producer ever want to show anything else other than those stuff? So like I said, like us as a conference, and I'm talking about the whole Pac-12, is to blame more so than anything else. And that is kind of the frustrating situation that I find myself in as a fan of the Utes, who turned down the Pac-12, or sorry, who turned down the Big 12, are now in this predicament where we need to join a power conference now in order to keep producing the money that we need. Because I saw firsthand, as someone that went through the whole, went from the Mountain West to the Pac 12, like I saw the progression that the Utes made, and it got us to where we're at right now. New facilities, very fancy equipment, like stuff where play, and that's how you get the players. Whether it's basketball, baseball, gymnastics, because gymnastics is the Utes' best sport, I would say personally. Soccer, whatever sport it is, swimming, it doesn't matter. The way that we were able to, I would say, get us to where we want to go was joining the conference that allowed us the better revenue to get us better equipment, to get us better things, to bring in these recruits. But are these recruits going to be happy if you're part of the Pac-12? Hey, we can show you the games, but you're going to be on a subscription service. You're going to be on Paramount Plus, or you're going to be on Hulu, or you're going to be on ESPN Plus. Who wants to watch a Pac-12 game on ESPN Plus? You want to see it on the regular networks. You want to see it on national TV. You know, I know we're going to a streaming-based economy right now with the way that things are going. But I just find that, to me, as more frustrating than anything else, because the Utes deserve better, and so does everybody else in the Pac-12. And, you know, the Pac-12 gets screwed once again. And it's on us to why we weren't able to produce what we needed to, right? Like I talked about, the college football. We haven't won a bowl game in a very long time, like a major bowl game. We haven't even gone to the championship game in a very long time. And when that is the case, and when you realize that that is the situation that the whole Pac-12 is in, I mean, like I said, you can't hate anybody but yourself for what's going on right now. And to me, like, the reason why I call these two teams sellouts is because really it was on Oregon, who couldn't win the national championship. UW couldn't advance further into the college football playoffs. The Utah Utes failing to win 2 Rose Bowls in a row. I mean, how can we as a conference be mad that these teams want to leave? That everybody that wants to join the Pac, or everybody that wants to leave the Pac-12, they have a right to want to leave. What have we done as a conference to say, hey, we're a strong conference, we're a powerhouse? The problem with the Pac-12, rather than the SEC and the Big 12, more so the SEC, we know it's always going to be Georgia and Alabama. The Pac-12, it's a crapshoot. It is. And without USC being the powerhouse that it once was back in the day with Pete Carroll, with Reggie Bush, we know that Texas game, like, it was the most magical game in the world. It was the best college football experience as someone that was a fan of college football and someone who was a fan of Vince Young. Like, it was magical. And who could beat these USC Trojans? Because they had a stacked team. And to me, that's where the frustration comes in as someone who loves college sports a lot. I know college sports gets its flack. I know that Pete and Brad are not big fans of it like I am. But I do enjoy the fact that it's amateur players. You know, I don't know if they can be amateurs anymore if they're getting paid NIL, which I'm fine with. I love the fact that they can make their money off their likeness, as they should. But, you know, it kind of had that, hey, you could have probably played, you know, really not really, right? But, you know, a kid from a small town, from a, you know, maybe from the local area, maybe from Seattle, maybe from Bellevue, from Ferndale, from Arlington, from any of these small towns, Lake Stevens, wherever you may play. And, you know, I'm using Seattle as the bigger example here. The Washington State area, I should say. Like, these, you know, it was fun to see, like, those kids that you knew go to college football, perform, dominate, and you wanted to see them do well. But for the most part, where are those kids going? They're going down to where the money goes, and that's the SEC and the Big 12. Uh, you know, it's just kind of the reality of everything. Or sorry, the Big 10. The Big 10 and the Pac 12. You know, what was crazy to me is that there was a kid at Eastside Catholic when we made a big run at in districts like a couple years back who played on the basketball team. Dominant football player. Where did he end up going? He ended up going to Ohio State. Good kid too, very very athletic. Like that's where that kid went. The fact that Washington or any of these other schools couldn't keep um, that these schools couldn't keep these kids in state. Like think about all the think about how many kids live in California, and the fact that California can't keep these kids at USC, UCLA, Cal, Stanford, like wherever, or even the West Coast itself. Like kids are not staying on the West Coast; they're going over to the middle of the United States or the South to play football. Basketball, I think it's a little bit of a different story, but even so, a lot of the kids are not staying in the West Coast. They're moving to the middle of America. So I think that's something that, as conferences, as ADs, as a whole conference in general, again, they have no one to blame but themselves, and that's the frustrating part about this whole situation. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about the whole Pac-12 basically being disintegrated and no longer existing as we once knew it to be. Right? A lot of these conferences are probably going to get killed, and that's just the sad reality of everything. So, like I said, let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys make of this whole situation? Are you guys a big fan of it? Are you not a big fan of the whole thing? I would like to know your guys' comments and opinions in the comment section down below. And anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for the charge. I do appreciate you hopping on. I know it was a very short day and not really a lot of NBA news, and I can do a quick check, but I'm pretty sure it is no NBA news other than Derek White. Would be cool to extend with the Celtics. I think it would be cool as well. He obviously deserved it after the game-winning shot that he made in Miami. But with that being said, that's going to do it here for the charge. Thank you once again for tuning in, giving me the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. Please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Again, all that stuff helps us out tremendously and lets us know that you're interested in the content that we have here on The Charge. Anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. I'll catch everybody on the next episode of The Charge. I think we might be doing a stream with Pete and I, and we will see you guys then. I will, again, update you guys when that's going to happen. And I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Enjoy your Friday, and we'll see everybody on the next episode. Anyway, guys, we'll catch you later.